All right, so I have this crazy idea, right? Yeah, I'm gonna stop it right there. The word crazy doesn't even begin to describe how ambitious this idea was. And it certainly is not the correct word to describe the person who came up with this idea, whoever that may be. Some better words I could have used to describe myself from a couple months ago are unprepared, delusional, stupid. It may sound like I'm being hard on myself for no reason, but 2 years ago, my hardest demon was Cosmic Calamity. That ain't even an extreme demon. If that version of me from 2 years ago were to see this video I recorded on March 15th, 2025, I'm sure you'd have a couple questions. Number 1, why the golden? To answer this, let's skip ahead to August of 2023. I don't know why, I've been having this recurring dream where I'm playing the golden. I don't know why, but it's that specific level. I don't know why. And I'm saucing it up there. Like, I'm really doing well whenever I have it. So that must be a sign. Ever since this moment, the golden had always lingered in the back of my mind. When I thought of what my GD future would look like, I always saw myself beating the golden. Question 2, are you at least using a better controller? And well, the short answer is no. No, I'm not. I still use the same type of third-party Xbox controller. The one that has a polling rate of 125 Hz? Yeah, that one. That's the one. Question 3. Are you out of your mind? This is what my top 5 looked like at the time of that recording. What was I even thinking? And not even just that. You know how many people have beaten the golden using a controller? I'll give you a hint. It's less than 1. This recording was intended to be the beginning of a typical highlights video, and I was beaming. I was so positive, so cheery, so genuinely excited for what the next couple of weeks were going to look like. But from here, things went south. So bad, in fact, that I had to completely scrap that idea, and here we are today in August of 2025. And I did beat the level 2 weeks ago. So before we dive into the streams, let's just take a quick recap of what happened before that recording you just saw even started, because that was not the beginning. Oh no. As you'll see, I had plenty of time to stop and think for a second that maybe this wasn't the best idea, and maybe I should do something a little bit more within my skill range. Oh man, let's go back to the beginning. January 5th, 2025. My second day ever playing the Golden. This is the first recorded run I have from my time playing this level, and as you can see, I started by tackling the first wave. This run alone took over 7,000 attempts and had to be spread across 2 days. Now on paper, that sounds pretty terrible, but I promise you it's not as bad as it seems. It took me nearly 11,000 attempts to do 60 to 100 a single time on Cold Sweat, my previous hardest. You might think, okay, yeah, that's 40%, but in reality, that's just the wave in the last cube. It took forever to learn that wave and to do it those first couple times, but eventually it got super consistent. I beat Cold Sweat in a little over 34,000 attempts, meaning that doing the wave to 100 once made up nearly a third of my total attempt count. At the time, I figured I was on pace to have a similar experience with the Golden. In fact, I was so confident that I would get consistent at the wave that I stopped. In fact, I was so confident that the wave would get consistent that I completely stopped practicing it. For whatever reason, I was worried that if I practiced the waves a bunch, I would just end up beating the Golden in like 5 streams, just like I did with Cold Sweat, and I really wanted there to be a lot of content. This guy has no clue what he's getting himself into. He just doesn't know. He thought he could barely play this level and be completely fine. Look at how far apart these runs are. I just wasn't even trying. Don't even ask how I managed to drop 40,000 attempts by the time I even started that first recording, because by the looks of it, I did nothing. These runs suck, and I remember not even playing it that often, so I don't know how I went through attempts so quickly. Maybe I was reverse attempt lying, and I somehow managed to gaslight myself into thinking that the attempt count was real, because I genuinely don't know where 40,000 attempts came from. But anyways, after 2.5 months of dragging, I finally did my first baby run of 49 to 100. It was time to let the streams begin. Welcome to the first official stream of the Golden, everyone. Today, our only goal is to get to the drop from 0. I'm not really confident that I could do that, to be honest, because the ship is really hard, but we're gonna try. Although my confidence wasn't at 100%, I was beyond excited to stream this journey. I had created a simple roadmap that would guide me to 2 runs and give me enough momentum to propel me through the rest of the level. Step 1, get to the drop. Step 2, get both waves in 1 run, because I still haven't done that yet for whatever reason. Step 3, 35 to 100. Step 4, get to the second wave from 0. I was so confident in my plan, and the only thing left to do was execute. After 2 hours of playing from 0, I finally got my first drop attempt. No! After 2 hours of playing from 0, I finally got my first drop attempt. Dude, I can't believe I did it that attempt when I made that stupid noise 'cause I thought I was dead. At the beginning of stream 1, I mentioned that I wasn't feeling supremely confident in my abilities. Let's check back in with myself to see if anything changed after getting 29. So I think I'm going to beat this on May 3rd, and it will take a grand total of exactly 71,672 attempts. Oh my god, bro, you idiot! 70k? Unfortunately for me at the time, this confidence would be short-lived. Step 2 was proving to be quite the challenge, and not even a 4-hour stream could push me over the finish line. I was well beyond my highest attempt count at this point, so the fact that I was struggling this much to do a 30% run should have been a major wake-up call. I knew deep down that I wasn't cut out for this, but I put my head down and I kept grinding. Dude, let's go. Spending multiple streams in this small run, plus being bad at pretty much every other part of the level, sucked. It makes sense that I was supposed to struggle since this was a massive new hardest, but I just didn't realize how bad at the game I was. The doubts started to creep in, and it didn't help that I was struggling so much to close out any runs to 100. Everyone knows that the Golden has a brutal ending. It's one of those levels where if you only die 2 or 3 times in the last 15%, you're considered pretty lucky. In order to understand why this is, let's break it down piece by piece. The robot. At first, this part is straight up daunting. However, most of it gets consistent pretty quickly. The main issue here is 78 to 80. These orb clicks are incredibly unforgiving, and the clicks that set up the impossible final blue orb are super scary with nerves. From my experience, if you're in the flow state, you can do this part every time. The UFO and Spider. This 5% section is easily the most underestimated part in the entire level. Any of these clicks can and will kill you, and it stays uncomfortably inconsistent during your entire time playing the level. The ship. Everyone knows that this ship is impossible, so it needs no introduction. The only thing I'll add here is that these saw blades actually move while you're going through the gaps, and not many people seem to know this. The ball. There are 2 clicks in this ball that find themselves in the top 5 hardest clicks in the entire level. The 94% pink orb and the 96% blue orb are nothing short of evil. The rest of the ball is still very chokeable, despite being significantly easier than those 2 clicks. The last UFO. One of the easiest parts in the entire level. However, if you do the first click wrong, there is 0 recovery. Keep that breakdown in mind while we go through the rest of the video, because I'm sure we're going to need to circle back to it at some point. If you want to see a full breakdown of every single part in the Golden, as well as hear a little bit more in-depth analysis on my experience as a whole, be sure to check out my channel memberships, which you can find a link to in the description. Starting for as low as $1 a month, you can get access to multiple exclusive videos, as well as private chat rooms in my Discord server, where we occasionally host game nights. With that out of the way, let's get back to the video. Luckily for me, the ending didn't give me its worst when I was playing from 35. On stream 5, I was able to complete my first 35 to 100 run. On this stream, I also reached a new milestone by breaking 50,000 attempts for the first time ever. Bear in mind, I didn't even have the level in 2 runs yet. I already thought I was struggling hard, but then I hit my first major roadblock, doing the first wave from 0. Dude. Dude, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. It took 109 drop attempts to get past the first wave a single time, and there was no sign of it getting any more consistent. This first wave is the most brutal segment of gameplay I've ever tried to get consistent at. It's not because of the transition into it, or because of any individual choke point clicks. This whole wave is just unbelievably difficult. Doing it in the copy bowl is a challenge on its own, but then doing it from 0 is a whole nother story. I knew I definitely needed to spend more time on this wave before playing from 0 again, so I went right back to the copy bowl. On stream 11, I managed to land another 35 to 100 run, which honestly didn't feel like it meant too much because I could barely get to 35 from 0. What I really needed to do was 22 to 100, and 22 to 100 I did. Against all odds, I whipped out a drop to 100 run with only one ending death. This was a great sign, but I knew I couldn't get overconfident. The next stream I decided it was time to play from zero again, and it went surprisingly well. I still wasn't great at the first wave, but I was doing it well enough to pass it a few times. My god, we actually did it, bro. We actually got a new vest. No, what? Dude. Oh my god, I just almost got another new vest. This surge of consistency was incredibly motivating. However, I knew it wouldn't last forever. I swear I always do this. I always get 2 consecutive really good attempts. And then I just fall off for the rest of the stream. So that was probably the last good attempt for the stream. Dude, whoa! Yo! Oh my god. Getting 58% on the golden was incredible. I had completed the significantly harder half, and I felt as if I couldn't be stopped. I had worked so hard to see that new best pop up, and I was ready for that skill boost. Yep, my controller broke. The most difficult part of playing a controller for me is not actually like the CPS cap, or the low polling rate, or the awkwardness of alternating. It's that they are very fragile. At least the ones that I used. I use a PowerA Xbox controller, which is like $25 at GameStop. And after about a month of playing it, you notice that the release delay starts to get significantly worse very quickly. By the time you notice it, you're already past the point of no return, and it just keeps getting worse and worse until it's genuinely unusable. Once the game had become basically unplayable, I would trade in the controller for a new one using the protection plan, and then the release delay was back to normal. Now you might think that that's just the end of it, right? I mean, everything seems fine. Like, what's the issue now, right? You just reset the release delay. But the problem is that whenever that would happen, I would have to relearn the entire level every time. I sucked the next few streams. It was so bad that I just started fulfilling random side quests to make myself feel a little better. There we go. I actually got a new best. What? I didn't get back to the second half for 10 days after getting 58. But when I got there, I made it count. No, not that number. Come on, bro. That's 2 new bests in a row, which ended at really easy clicks, but I couldn't complain. I was about 70,000 attempts in at this point, and I had only gotten to the second half twice. Not only that, but my copyable runs weren't going much better. This was around when the reality of the situation began to set in. I realized that I couldn't trust anyone else's experience with this level because I was on a different playing field. It didn't matter who got consistent after a certain amount of progress, because I wasn't getting consistent. For a while, I was expecting the runs to start coming naturally, but it just wasn't happening. If I wanted to make progress, I had to work for it. What's up, guys? I'm not streaming right now because this level's not going too good. I got a new best like 4 or 5 days ago and haven't really done much since. The last 2 streams, I was just trying to grind 22 to 100 and I just couldn't, even after just sitting at 22 for over 3 hours for each stream. I think I just need a focus session because when I play on stream, my focus is probably around 40 or 50%, and then I just can't do anything. And maybe I'm just being too hard on myself because like the first time I did 22 to 100, I'm pretty sure I got to the dual wave 3 times. And then the second time I run, I mean, how many times have I even gotten to the ending? 11, 12, 13, and then probably another 2 or 3 more from when Death Tracker wasn't working for some reason. It's like I've had around 15 ending attempts from here since the last time I did 22 to 100, but it just, I don't know, I just really want to close this run out. No. No, dude, no. I was so ready for the ship. I keep getting runs from 22 to the 50s. I just keep dying in the ship. But once I get past that middle ship, I'm good. I just have to do that like 2 more times. I swear I'm doing this run today. Yes! 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 Oh my god, that feels like I just beat a new hardest. I almost died so many times in the last ship. As I said a few seconds ago, I spent 2 consecutive streams only playing from 22 in hopes of getting the run to 100 again, just to fail. Getting 22 to 100 again made playing in the copy bowl feel a lot easier and more approachable, which led to me doing some sick runs like 13 to 94. Playing from 0, however, was the same old story. No matter how hard I grinded, I just couldn't get anywhere. It was so demotivating that I even started to doubt my future as a player. That was until I have to fluke to 100, bro. Don't fail past 69. You have my word. I will be fluking the golden easily. Kai Guy was right. I need to fluke this. I cannot afford to start dying at the end. No matter how hard I try, I will never get consistent at the first half. I need to fluke the golden, and I will. When I eventually get to the ending, history will be made. I was so nervous. I could not do that click. Yeah, honestly, that really sucked. But it's okay though, because to everyone's surprise, I got back there the next session. Oh my god. Yes! That was out of nowhere. This is the best I've ever played. An ending attempt 2 sessions in a row is something I've dreamed about for weeks. If I keep up the grind, I can ride this momentum until the very end. Unfortunately, right after this stream, I had to take a somewhat extensive break from playing the Golden. Sometimes life hits you pretty hard out of nowhere, and this was certainly one of those times. I won't go into too much detail because I want this video to stay on course, but around this time I did have a death in the family and one of my grandparents passed away. I was already dealing with the loss, but on top of that I got called in to pick up a few extra shifts at work, which then caused me to get sick for about a week. So there was just a lot of time spent sitting around and reflecting and just thinking about how everything's been going over the last couple months. I had been grinding this level so much that I never really stopped and processed what I was actually doing. And when I did, it did not feel good. But like I said, I did take a break because around this time there were just simply more important things going on in my life than playing the Golden. But not all of them were bad. There were some positive distractions too. I got to travel for a weekend to attend to some IRL stuff. Then when I came back, I worked on the mods video, which was really fun. And I also got to do a super fun RobTop Travel Deathlink with other YouTubers and streamers. These fun activities, as we'll call them, served as a really great reminder of what's important to me. As much as I love the idea of pushing my skill to the absolute maximum and to show everyone what's possible on a low refresh rate controller, this is not really what I see for myself in terms of my future in Geometry Dash. Video creation, for example, is something that I deeply missed, as well as just enjoying streaming. I'm not gonna lie, streaming the Golden kind of sucked because I was just so deflated and disappointed all the time. Once I recognized how I was feeling and where I wanted to go over the next couple months, I felt a fire ignite inside of me. By the time I returned to streaming the Golden on May 26th, I was willing to do whatever it would take to put this level behind me. The de-wrestling process was not easy. In fact, I even picked up a nasty mind block with the ship of 50%. After putting everything I had into this level for nearly 2 weeks, I finally got back to the ending. Oh my god, yes. Oh my god, I got a new best. 82 was the first new best in such a long time where the death actually made sense. I was motivated and I was determined. Unfortunately, my controller did break again, meaning I had to relearn the entire level another time. But during this time, I crossed yet another unthinkable milestone. 100,000 attempts. Going into this experience, I never could have imagined spending 100,000 attempts on a single level. Even to this day, it seems like such an insurmountable task that I would never be able to commit to. I never let my attempts count get to me, even up until this point. Whenever I thought about it, I just put my head down and I kept grinding. And that's what I did. No! No, no, no! Oh my god. Oh my god. It took yet another 2 weeks to get a new best, but I didn't even care. 2 new bests in one day this far into the journey made almost everything worth it. Everything that I had been working towards for the last 5.5 months was almost here. I just had to get past this one final part. I am now in the end game. This is when things get crazy. Yes! 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 Bro. Oh my god! $126,136 attempts and 158 hours of playtime is what it took to finally watch my icon pass the last spike. I cannot even describe how demoralizing this experience was. However, there isn't a single part of me that regrets it. I finally beat my dream demon, and I did it my way. If there's one thing you take away from this video, I hope it's this. You don't need to be the most skilled player or use the most expensive equipment. You just need to never give up. Thank you so much for watching this video, genuinely. If you're a new viewer, I'd greatly appreciate it if you'd hit the subscribe button and check out some of my other content. As I mentioned earlier, there's a link to sign up for my channel memberships in the description, so check that out if you want access to exclusive videos and private chat rooms. Either way, I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.